Well, I just noticed from my last vlog video, we have a lot to catch up on. As you can tell from the space I'm in, it's completely different than my last video. Well, that's because we moved back to the States. So we had planned to stay in Ecuador for about 2 or 3 years, but our plans got cut short. We were only there for about 1.5 years, and then we moved back last year. The reason why I wasn't able to post is shortly after we moved back, we found out that the tumor I had in this hand came back. So I had to have a surgery on the recurrent bone tumor in this hand. In essence, what happened was the first surgery I had was back in 2010, and they took the tumor out and filled the bone area. Well, it came back more aggressive. So this time they had to take a graft from my wrist and rebuild this entire finger. And then I had an additional 6 months of physical therapy after the actual surgery. So diagnosis was last June, surgery was last August. So we're coming almost on 1 year from the time of the surgery. And then I had 7 months of physical therapy. So physical therapy ended January, February time period, to where I got most of my dexterity back. But a lot of that was actually attributed to me picking up knitting and crocheting again. But since my hand looked really terrible and we were in transition of moving into this place, I didn't get to do any videos during that time. So this video today is going to kind of be catch-up time. So also within that time period, both of our kids graduated from high school. One graduated in May of 2018, and the other one graduated in December of 2018. So now the location that we have moved to is going to be close to their new school. It's also close to my husband's job, and we're really happy with the neighborhood that we chose. So I'll put a couple of pictures here of my new craft space. I have this beautiful room all to myself. It's about, I want to say it's about 12 by 10, maybe 10 by 11. There's no closet, which I'm used to because in our last house, I was upstairs in the game room. And then in Ecuador, it was just an open space in our living room. And now I actually have 2 little doors. So that's really nice that this space can be closed off. It is in the front of the house, so I do have to kind of keep things neat since that's what everybody sees when they first walk in. So we're really happy, finally all moved in and settled in. Kids are getting into their routine, and so I'm hoping I can kind of get into a routine here because I've been watching so many podcasts. I love watching what everybody's doing, their little bits about their daily life, their works in progress, and what's currently on their hook, or on their needles. So that's what I'm hoping to do here. So I'm going to open up by showing some of the projects that I've actually finished. I finished my first knitting project ever. Let me post some pictures here. So that particular shawl is this one right here. Oops, sorry, I'm hitting my camera. So I finished my first knitting project ever. And the irony is I did it during physical therapy. So my physical therapist said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's helping the mobility in your hand and you're progressing well. So that gave me a lot of encouragement to continue and to continue learning. So I started this project in Ecuador. Let me post those photos. We had a friend who came over and spent an afternoon with my daughter and I just sharing with us the basic knit and purl. And the initial project I had chosen was obviously way over my skill level since I was just learning how to knit and purl. So I chose a different pattern and I started working on it in Ecuador prior to our move. And I only finished maybe about one section, like this gray section into about right here. Maybe it was the black. I don't remember which, but I'll show the photo. And then I had to put it down and we moved and it got crazy. But you can see there's some changes of color between these sections, and there's also a little bit on the actual hem. So this little area actually changed it 3 times. There's this silver gray, the teal, and then the black. And of course I would choose the hardest colors, dark colors to work with right out the gate on my very first project. But it ended up working out. I started with bamboo needles, but I switched to my nickel ones because it was taking too long. And once I really got the knit and purl down, since this is such a simple pattern, I was able to fly a lot faster once I changed out the needles that I had put them on. So I finished that one, and as I was finishing that project, I decided I wanted to get back into amigurumi because that is what really got me into fiber arts to begin with. I love the look of those little stuffed animals. So I started this project of this little sheep to give to a friend, and this one was closer towards the end of my physical therapy. So I started this project on December the 17th of 2018, and I finished December 27th. And so it only took me about 10 days to do this particular project. So I was really happy with the outcome. It worked well because that was a worsted weight project, and so it crocheted up really quickly. So after that, I had some more follow-ups with the doctor to check my lungs and my spine for any spread. That was from January to February. And also, if the tumor had come back, they have talked to me already about that possibility and possible amputation of this entire finger, including the bone, and moving this direction. Anyway, thankfully, at this point, everything's clear, so I have all my digits and I can continue moving progress with my other projects. So as a treat to myself, because I was so excited of the good news, on our way back from that doctor's appointment, we stopped by a local yarn shop that was in Oklahoma near where I had my surgery done. So this is my current work in progress. It's the night shift shawl, and this is what it looks like so far. It's really short. I've actually started this project and frogged it 3 times because I didn't like the way that the color work was turning out. So this color scheme I'm finally happy with. What happened was, with this particular yarn, I found more solids than I did mixed. But if you look at her pattern design, she uses like a tweed mix for her entire project. All the yarns are this beautiful, beautiful like tweed mix. So I had only found 3 mixed color balls. So I really needed to make those the dominant color and make my solids the little accent color in between stitches. And that made it look a lot better. When I had solid on solid, it was just looking too stripy and almost very, I would say, 1970s. So I just wasn't too keen on that color combination. So this is what I have so far. And I plan to, now that we're approaching fall, going to start moving forward more on this project here. Now, my newest amigurumi obsession is with this particular book. It's just now out on pre-launch. So I'll put the link below. I got the PDF since I have Amazon Prime. I got the PDF there and I just love it. There's actually a lot more animals than this in this book. I don't know if I have a picture of all of the animals. I don't. But here's another one. Here's the dodo bird and the ladybug. The ladybug is by far my favorite. And then I also love this little deer, the little fawn next to it as well. So this is why I picked this particular book. This is the first one by a designer that I bought the entire book. Usually for amigurumi, I go to amigurumi.net, I think it is. I'll post that link below. And I've bought a pattern here, a pattern there, anywhere from $3 to $5. but I've never bought an entire pattern book. But this one, I loved so many of the animals that I figured by the time I bought each individual animal, I was going to spend way more than the book itself. But also, I noticed in her patterns, she uses the same yarn colors over and over again in different ways between each pattern. One of them, like this deer, she uses certain body colors. But then she just has accents of, say, a light blue and a mauve and a yellow. But then if you look at this guy right here, she only has the face is the same color. So you just need a little bit of yarn there, but then maybe this pink that was used in the pom-pom on the hat, that's what may have been used in the flower, or this flower is the tummy area. So you can see from this photo here, here's the yellow, here's a yellow on this dress. So the yarn that you buy goes a long way with being able to do several projects in her project book. So that was a huge reason also why I bought this book. So what I plan to do is I'm going to have two things that are going to be a series on this channel. One is, as I'm doing the Amigurumi Stitches, I'm going to have a playlist of the stitches on how to do general Amigurumi stitches. Not showing her patterns, of course, but how I do a magic circle, the chain, the single crochet, the increase in the round for amigurumi, the decrease, and how I do those. Because I know one thing for me is there's projects my mom did when I was a child. And later on, when I was an adult, I thought to myself, wow, I wish I had that pattern, or I wish I knew what pattern she used at all so I could even try it. There's just some things from my childhood that I start to remember that now I wish I could do that, or sweaters my grandmother made me. I wish I had the patterns to those. So I'm going to kind of be doing a paper log and a notebook for my kids, but also a digital log here on YouTube. So if they ever decide in the future that this is something that interests them, they have something they can go back to look on and to see how I did the projects. So those are the projects I've completed over this past year. Those are the projects that I'm in the progress of working on, and hopefully we'll be able to video those more often for you. And during this time, I only bought 2 new tools, and they're not really knitting or crochet specific, but they help me out. So the first thing I got was this little headlamp. I actually bought this when we lived in Ecuador because we had a go bag in Ecuador that was so necessary there. We had earthquakes and we had volcanoes. So having a go bag is very important there. So this one has several lights. That's red lights. And then there's just one light. So what I end up using this for is either in the car when we're driving, or at night when my husband turns off the lights and he wants to go to sleep. You know, when you're knitting, you might be in the middle of a row and you can't just hang it up and quit because of maybe where you are, especially if you're working a cable stitch or something really intricate. You really don't want to just quit right there. So at least I can get to the end of the row or work a few more rows without disturbing him too much, because this really pinpoints the light right onto my project and doesn't disturb him unless I totally turn my head and flash him in the eyeballs with these beams of light. The other thing I got that has happened to me at this point, since I have MS, sometimes they call it the optic nerves in my eyes don't work properly. So I need some extra help with vision. So I got these cute cat eye magnifying glasses. I think these are 2X. I'll link it on Amazon where I found it, but this has helped me a lot. So I look really crazy at night when I have these on along with my headlight I look like an amazing piece of work. But it works amazing, especially at night when my eyes are tired. Having the extra light as well as the extra magnification on my stitches really helps me a lot. So if any of you have dexterity issues or vision issues, maybe these little tips and pointers can help you out with that. Well, that about sums it up for today. Hopefully this didn't end up being too long for you. If you like this video and want me to keep doing more blogs, please give it a thumbs up. And also give me your channels. Comment below. Let me know your podcast or your Instagram. I'd love to see your projects. I'll post all my social media below so that you can find me as well. I'm also on Ravelry. I don't do a lot on Ravelry because I'm not a designer. I just enjoy doing these projects. So I hope to be on here more often, and I'll see you on my next podcast. Talk to you next time.